Dear friends, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody outside Peru. Here it is, another video in English. I have had some criticism about my English. I apologize. I am not English native speaker, but I'll do my best to have my news understood by everybody. Okay? Anyways, what I'm going to talk about is what is happening in Latin America, because I know for sure that many people outside Latin America do not know what is going on here. And I think in this global world, we need to know from every part of the world. I wish I could have some information about Africa. I'm really concerned what is going on there, and I don't know one word. If you have any connection, any link about news from Africa, I don't want to watch CNN. Forget it, that's fake news. So I'm not watching CNN. But I would love to have information from Africa, from true Africans, like here. Me, as a Peruvian, can give you some information from Latin America and more information from Peru. Well, what has been happening in the last few days? You know that Mexico have had its election, and that the new president-elect is Mr. Manuel López Obrador, who is a leftist, a true leftist. So Mexico is starting to have its experience as a leftist country. And those are excellent, wonderful, capital news for Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, and Bolivia. Why? Because Brazil was leftist with Lula da Silva, but now Lula da Silva is in jail, and the government has gone from the left to, I wouldn't say right, but center right would be more accurate. But that means that all those countries that I've just mentioned that are left and far left do not have the the support, maybe financial support or moral support that had before with Brazil on their side. So the election of López Obrador is wonderful news to these countries: Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, and of course Bolivia. Now, what is happening in Venezuela? I don't know if I've told you, but here in Lima we have more than 100,000 Venezuelans that have come in desperation for the situation that their country is going on right now. I'm going to read you some information. You can go to Wikipedia. I mean, it's very easy. It says here, it has been calculated that from 1998 to 2013, over 1.5 million Venezuelans, between 4% and 6% of the Venezuela's total population, left the country following the Bolivarian Revolution. And that's the revolution started with Chavez. Remember? Chavez was first. And then Maduro. Okay? So Maduro is responsible for the population decreasing or population decreased because of the situation the country is going on. They are starving, literally starving. I have a video with the declaration of a Venezuelan girl that I saw or I interviewed. Unfortunately, it's in Spanish. But for those of you that understand Spanish, I'm leaving the link so you can hear what is going on here in Lima, Peru. Here in Lima, Peru. Colombia has the most population because they are bordering Venezuela, and the poor Venezuelans are fleeing their country by the thousands, and that's the consequence of the government of Maduro. Not from Chavez, but Chavez started this situation, and Maduro has deepened it even worse. Now Mexico is coming into this kind of government. I lived in Mexico for about 3 years. What I suppose, I'm not sure, but I think that what may save Mexico is the type of government they have. They are a federation, like in Germany, for instance. They have their own states. I lived in Jalisco, in Guadalajara, which is the capital. Mexicans are very traditional people, very traditional. I don't know if that's the perception that I have because I lived in a very traditional state. Jalisco is one of the most, how do you call? Very, very Mexican, okay? They are very, very Mexican. They have the Mexican spirit. So that's the view that I have. But not only that, they have fought several wars, civil wars, not only the Mexican Revolution. They also had what they call the Guerra Cristera, or the Christian, no, it's not Christian, it's Christophile War, something like that, okay? Where the population took arms and rebelled against laws that forbade the Catholic Church to administer the sacraments or to own buildings, and in short, it was a kind of a how do you call persecution? Okay, it was the persecution against the Catholic Church, specifically the Catholic Church. But the population rose against those laws, and the war went for 3 years and more. At last, the Vatican had to intervene and try to make some kind of arrangements with the Mexican government, the central government. But the states that fought this war remained staunchly Catholics. Okay, so the war that the government started did not end well for them. The Mexicans continue being Catholics. All their traditions, all their feasts with saints and so forth and so on remained. There was one thing that happened when Pope John Paul II went to Mexico on a state visit. The protocol that between the Vatican and the government, Mexican government, stroke was that nobody would make any reference to religion. Okay, so the Pope would not give benediction or would not talk about Catholic religion, nothing. It was going to be a protocolar visit in which the government and the Vatican, the Mexican government and the Vatican were going to visit. It was a state visit. That's it. But when the Pope went to the municipality, the municipality of Mexico City, there were a few, not a few, but quite a few civil servants inside this municipality. It was the governor and other authorities, and lo and behold, many people in this room, which was a big room, kneeled and took out their rosaries, their statues, and their whatever images, because they wanted to be blessed by the Pope. And the Pope, well, he was surprised because it was supposed not to happen. But then he began the benediction in Latin. And this was supposed to be a lay government and an atheist government. So that gave the Pope, of course, he was not laughing but smiling ruefully, because that was something that he did not expect. And the people around him, around the government, were not surprised. It was something not arranged. It was a very a gesture that was not how do I say, was not prepared. Okay, it just happened. And that's us Latin Americans. We are like that. I mean, Mexico right now, is a lay country. There is no religion. The the Catholic Church does not own any property in Mexico City. The churches are state buildings. These are lent to the Catholic Church, but they are not property of the church. Say for instance 12th of December, which is the main feast. It's the feast of the Virgin of Guadalupe, and you know who is the Virgin of Guadalupe. She is the mother of the Mexicans, the mother. No other country has that right. So it's because we have our ways of life intrinsic in our culture. And that Manuel López Obrador, a leftist, coming into power, I don't know what is going to happen. I'm not sure. As I said before, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, and Bolivia might be joyful for the result, but I'm not sure what is going to happen to Mexico, because Mexico is another culture, another way of life. Anyways, that's what I wanted to tell you about what is happening here in this part of the world. I heard what happened in the EU reunion. Good for you guys. good for you in Europe. Merkel now knows what is going to happen, and if she doesn't change, well, bye-bye, Merkel. And I hope that you will teach her a lesson. You have to teach her a lesson. The politicians do not have the right to govern beside the opinion of the people. We are the people, and we have the right to know what is happening to our government, because what the government does, yes, it comes to our own lives. It decides what is going to happen to us. And I don't know you, but I do not like to be imposed on. Anyways, this is it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please do so in the commentary section. You know that I'm here in YouTube. I also go into my Twitter account, which is the same, Norma Isabel Barua Laquipa. And I wish you a good morning, a good evening, and a good afternoon and a good evening for all of you from Lima, Peru.